Well, welcome to Christian Answers. This is Pastor Jeff Short. Glad to have you along for our discussion today. Today we're going to be talking about more on the leaked document from the Supreme Court that seems to be indicating that the court is going to reverse Roe v. Wade, the 1973 abortion decision that legalized abortion in all 50 states. And now it looks like through the leaked document that they're going to actually reverse Roe v. Wade, and they're going to send abortion back to the individual states. So you'll have 50 different states making 50 different rules and laws about the regulation of abortion, which is a good thing, which is a positive thing, because in 1973 the Supreme Court basically imposed legalized abortion on all states, no matter what their laws were. It totally nullified all of the local state laws that had been set in place and basically said you can't do anything now unless you follow the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision, which is basically abortion on demand. What it works out as is basically abortion at any stage. And so you have some states, for example, like New York State right now, that has abortion pretty much on demand up until 9 months. So right before, a minute before birth, a mother can bail out and say, no, I don't want to raise my child, I'm going to kill my child. And that is perfectly legal in New York State. It's also legal in California, and Colorado now has joined the butcher murderous crowd, and they have basically abortion on demand up until the point of birth. So that's the way it is right now. But after this law, after this decision, we think that the Supreme Court conservative majority will overturn Roe based on the leaked document, and it'll send it back to the states. And there are about half of the states that will regulate abortion very highly and strictly. And there will be some states, praise the Lord, that will actually ban it outright. So we're making progress. It's not totally the solution that we want. We actually want all abortions to stop. We want all murders to stop. We don't want to carve out some exception for murder in the United States that says that you can murder a baby because it's just a baby, it's just real small. But you can't murder an adult, and you can't murder a senior citizen, you can't murder a teenager, you can't murder a child, but you can murder an infant in the womb. That's wrong. So we want all murder all the time criminalized so that it will discourage people from doing it, and if they do it, they will be punished. So that's where we're standing right now. We're waiting for the Supreme Court decision to hand down that final decision, but we are praying and hoping that it will be what the leaked document indicated, which is a total overthrow of Roe. Well, what the abortion people, these pro-death, murderous, immoral, wicked people on the Democratic and leftist side are doing is they're whipping up themselves in a frenzy. It's almost like the demons of hell are screeching and screaming and reacting against the possibility that they're going to be sent to hell, or they're going to be sent like what Jesus did when he encountered a demonic possession man. He sent them into the pigs, and it looks like the demonic hordes that are for abortion here in this country are shrieking just like those demons at the prospect of having to leave. And so not getting their way and not being able to stay. And so they're in a frantic, and they're trying to whip up people into anxiety and thinking that this was the end of the world. And if you listen to these abortion culture of death people, the Democrats, the leftists, the so-called progressives, but they're not progressive. They're actually going back into old paganism. If you listen to them, you would think that reversing Roe v. Wade would eliminate all abortion in the United States and that women wouldn't be able to have abortions. No, nothing's further from the truth. 80%, there's an estimate of 80% of all abortions that are being done today will still be done after Roe v. Wade is overturned, because such states as New York and these big populated states like California, they will keep on doing abortions. In fact, they will recruit people from out of state to come to their state, called abortion tourism, which is really a sick and twisted name. Abortion tourism, so that they can have their babies killed in New York or California or Colorado. And so they're actually gearing up to try to make up the difference, because some of the states will criminalize abortion. But they're whipping up. Here's an example of a writer in the Detroit Free Press where she's claiming Michigan's economy is headed for disaster if abortion is criminalized. So now she's trying to get people all worried that, the economy of this state of Michigan is going down the tubes if abortion is criminalized. And so let's hear this really dopey, convoluted argument, making abortion the linchpin in the economy of Michigan, which is totally absurd. Of course not. Michigan's economy is not tied to abortion, and if it were tied at all, it's tied very lightly. So there's not going to be any economic downturn because abortion is made illegal in Michigan. And that's the big fear, because they're worried that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, then there's an old law in Michigan that says that you can't have an abortion, which is, it was authored in 1931. Well, good for them. 1931. Thank you for doing what is basically, in the old days, just common sense morality. You don't kill your baby in the womb. Mothers are supposed to protect and nurture and care for their babies and not stab them in the head with an abortion cleaver. So let's read what this leftist liberal Democrat Nancy Kafer is trying to argue, and saying that abortion is going to collapse. Roe v. Wade's reversal is going to collapse Michigan's economy. Again, absurdity. This is the kind of hyperbolic language that we're seeing every day. And it's all an attempt to emotionalize a very straightforward legal question. The straightforward legal question is this: does the Constitution give a woman the right to kill her baby? The answer, no. There's nowhere. Look anywhere you can find any amendment, any plain text of the Constitution. There's nothing in there, not even that hints that a mother should be able to kill her child. You could make just as good an argument for infanticide, which is a mother killing her baby up to, 1 year old. If you think that abortion is a constitutional right, then you would also probably be easily persuaded to believe that the infanticide, the killing of an already born child, is a constitutional protection for women also, because it's just as clear in the abortion case as the infanticide case that there's nothing in the Constitution that gives any woman anywhere in this country a right to abortion. It was just Supreme Court justices said it was. And that's not constitutional law. That's law by fiat. It's called fiat law, which is what they do in communist countries. You don't need anything other than the party says it, and that's the law. Let's see what she says. She claims Michigan is headed for disaster, and people who could stop it are steering this state into a ditch. Okay, she's getting the emergency flashing red lights. Oh, we're headed for a disaster. Why? The U.S. Supreme Court is poised to overturn Roe v. Wade in the landmark 1973 ruling that made abortion illegal. If Roe is overturned, as a draft court ruling leaked last week indicates, a still extant 1931 Michigan law will ban abortion in nearly all circumstances. That is great. That is fantastic. Hats off to the people of 1931 who had enough moral common sense to know that abortion is murder of a baby, and it's wrong. It's morally reprehensible. It's disgusting. And it's sick and twisted to think that anyone would try to remove that law. Administering an abortion and maybe obtaining one would become a 4-year felony. Well, if you are an abortion doctor and you are killing kids, 4 years is not very much for that crime. So even if anything, it seems like the 1931 law might be a little lenient, but at least it's a law, and it does criminalize a criminal act. Thousands of Michigan women will be forced into motherhood. That is false. No one is forced into motherhood. If she is pregnant, she is already a mother. She's already a mother. The moment of conception, when a woman becomes pregnant, she becomes a woman. When the moment a woman has a baby in her body, that's the moment she's a mother. So thousands of women will not be forced into motherhood because they're already mothers. They are already experiencing motherhood. It's now a question of, will they murder their child, or will they allow their child the decency of being born? Will they be decent enough to let their child live and be born? Or will they be cruel, wicked, and evil and kill their baby, or hire an abortion hitman to kill their baby? Thousands of women will be forced into motherhood with disastrous consequences. Yeah, it's a disaster if you let a child live in the womb. Let's hear her reasoning. Some will undergo illegal, possibly unsafe procedures. Well, then that's on them. I'm sorry, we've gotten to the point where if you try to do a self-abortion, if you're a woman and you're so evil and you're so wicked and so sinful that you are going to take it upon yourself to try to kill your baby yourself through whatever means. The big popular meme in the pro-abortion, pro-death group is a coat hanger, and that's supposed to symbolize a self-abortion. And if a woman is dumb enough and stupid enough and evil enough and wicked enough to stick a coat hanger into her body to kill her baby, and she in the process hits an artery and bleeds in a back alley and she dies, well, that's on her. I'm sorry. But if you're trying to do an evil, if you're a murderer and you're stabbing someone and the knife breaks and the tip of it hits you in the heart and kills you, well, that's on you. That's your problem. That's your just penalty. If you're trying to commit a crime and the crime flips around and you get injured, that's on you. So it's sort of poetic justice. If you're going to try to kill your baby in the womb and then you die in the process, well, then that's your payment for your evil deeds. This argument that, oh, well, if abortion is illegal, then women will undergo illegal, possibly unsafe procedures. Yeah, and they'll be criminals. And if they die and it's unsafe, that's their choice. People make all kinds of unsafe decisions all the time. And we don't change criminal law to accommodate their safety. We don't accommodate the criminals, the safety of doing crimes, because some crimes are more dangerous than others. And so we wouldn't want our criminals to be hurt in the process of criminalizing or committing a crime. No, we leave the crime laws on the books, and if the criminals are participating in a crime and they get injured, that's their problem. That's their just penalty, in other words. Others will travel out of state. That's what I was talking about, California and New York. They're trying to recruit women. Hey, come to us. We'll kill your baby. Some women will be unable to terminate pregnancies that have gone horribly wrong. No, in all of these situations, it's not like if the woman is struggling in a situation of life and death because of her pregnancy, that doctors can't save her life. And if in the process the baby dies, well, that's a tragedy. But that's not abortion. That's not what we're talking about. That's something different. That is a rare instance. And they're trying to equate the two, and it won't work because we don't believe that. We don't buy into that argument. 99.9% of the abortions, the ones we're talking about, the whole abortion problem, is women choosing to have an abortion, not because they're going to die or not because they're going to be injured. It's because they choose to have an abortion because they don't want the child. That's it. That's the issue. Because of the 1931's law, only exemption is the subjective standard of preserving the life of the pregnant person. That's the issue she just was talking about. Some women will be unable to terminate pregnancies that have gone horribly wrong. Well, the 1931 Michigan law covers that situation. So on one hand, she's saying, oh, this is a terrible thing. This situation might come up. But then she talks about the 1931 law, and the law covers that situation, the one she just mentioned, that she's upset about. This is absurd. So the logic here is totally fallacious. Here's the meme. We will not go back. There's the abortion coat hanger, supposedly. So I don't know if these women know how ridiculous this is. I don't know if they have stepped back and realized, wait a minute, anyone who's willing to stick a coat hanger in her body to kill her baby, if you're going to do something like that, some dastardly thing like that to kill that baby, then you're the direct murderer. You're not even buffering it through an assassin abortionist. You know, most 99.9% again, women go and have the abortion done. The deadly deed, the dirty deed is done. The deadly, devilish deed is done by someone else. So at least they can say, well, I didn't actually kill my baby, someone else did. But when you have a coat hanger and you try to kill your baby and you actually kill it and you hurt yourself or injure yourself, you have committed the direct act of murder on your own offspring. And if you get injured in the process, well, that probably is justice making its way in a cosmic sense. Certainly, it could even be the Lord God Almighty is letting you just enjoy the fruit of your crime. This urgent threat to the bodily autonomy of women and girls. Here's the bodily autonomy argument. And that's refuted very simply by this. In the case of a baby in the womb and the mother who's carrying that baby, the mother has a heartbeat and the baby has a heartbeat. And those two are not the same. The mother's beating heart goes at a certain rate and the baby's beating heart goes at a certain rate. Two separate heartbeats. So how can the argument be that the woman has bodily autonomy and girls have bodily autonomy? They certainly do have bodily autonomy, but they don't have autonomy over someone else's body. And the baby in the womb is not their body. It came from their body. It was conceived in their body, and they're carrying it in their body, but it is not their body. It has different DNA. It has a different heartbeat rate. It has different fingers, toes. It has different characteristics because it's a different person. So the woman can say, I want bodily autonomy, and people can say, well, look, you have perfect bodily autonomy. You just can't kill another person. Their body has autonomy. So if the baby, if it were for example, a wart, and you just cut it off, no problem, because that's part of your body. But the baby in the womb is a separate person. So the bodily autonomy argument is fallacious. It doesn't work. To our status as full citizens, she's saying you have to have abortion or else we're not full citizens. That is a weird argument and makes no sense. Should should be enough to motivate GOP-dominated legislature to repeal the 1931 ban and codify our reproductive rights and our citizenship in the state's law. Reproductive rights. What woman does not have the right to reproduce? Now, in China, there are women who actually don't have the right to have children. The state sterilizes them. The state says you cannot have any more children. That's reproductive rights. They're being denied in China, not here in the U.S. If you want to get pregnant, you can get pregnant. If you are pregnant, that is not a violation of your reproductive rights. That's the consequences, the natural consequences of sexually reproducing. There is nothing in reversing Roe v. Wade that will take away a woman's reproductive rights, properly defined. Now, if you're saying, well, I need the right to kill my baby if I don't want that baby and I don't want offspring. No, you don't have the right to murder. That's not your right. It's not given in the Constitution. God Almighty does not give you that right. You have no legitimate right to murder your baby just because you don't want to be a mother. You are already a mother, whether you like it or not, and you can give that child up to adoption and give it to an adoptive family, but you already are a mother if you're pregnant. And aborting the baby will not change the status. You know, we just had Mother's Day, and I was looking around the church where they said, would all the mothers please stand? I was looking around the church, and I thought to myself, you know, I bet you there are probably hundreds of women here, young women, who did not stand, but who really should, because they're actually mothers, the ones that have had abortion in their past. It does not mean you're not a mother when your baby dies. If a mother, if a woman loses her child due to some congenital birth defect a day later after birth, that woman was a mother, even though the baby didn't live very long. And so too, a woman who is pregnant and then she has an abortion and the baby is killed, she too is a mother. And you can't escape that fact. It's a fact of biology. I'm sorry. Your facts don't, your feelings don't have the right to erase facts. Let's talk about Michigan's economy and who must be held accountable if the worst comes to pass. That means if Americans have a choice in their states to make these laws. That's what she's saying, the worst comes to pass, from her perspective. There are around 2.2 million women of reproductive age in Michigan. Okay, so she's going to do some calculations. Let's see what she's doing. More than 29,000 women have had abortions here in 2020. That's a tragedy. 29 women in Michigan killed their own offspring, murdered their baby, slaughtered their inheritance. Here's the thing about abortion. A woman never plans to exercise this choice until she must. It shouldn't be a choice. Murder should not be a choice. You could say the same thing with a woman who has a bad husband. A woman never plans to kill her husband until she must. You can apply this to every kind of situation. And here's the other thing about abortion. Access to abortion has never been solely about the procedure itself. It's about whether our bodies are our own. Again, like I said before, we're not talking about the woman's body, we're talking about the baby's body. And she can be autonomous with her body all she wants, but once she begins to talk about killing another person's body, that is violating that person's civil and moral rights. And they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the baby's bodily autonomy. If you want to talk about bodily autonomy, talk about all parties involved. It's not what the decision is, it's who makes the decision, said U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow, a Democrat. Will it be politicians, right-wing Supreme Court justices, or women making our own choices about our most challenging health care decisions? Okay, there's that phrase, health care decision. Whether to kill or not to kill your baby is not a health care decision. You can call it all kinds of things. But elective abortion is not a health care decision. It is a decision to whether to be a criminal murderer or not. It's a decision to be a murderer or not. And no woman should be allowed to make that decision. It's not that politicians are going to be making the decision. It's that God Almighty has already said, "Thou shalt not murder," in the Ten Commandments. And no human being has the right to take another life, an innocent human life. Now, there are exceptions in war, self-defense, and we all know about these, and our laws do reflect these. But to take an innocent child in the womb, this child has not done nothing, innocent as you can be, and have the mother kill it, that is a murderous decision, and no woman should be able to give that decision to an abortion doctor and have him do it. Michigan has already found a lot of ways to tell young, highly skilled workers in our state is not for them. Our elected leaders' failure to devise a functional transit system in southeast Michigan or extend civil rights protections to LGBT Michiganders telegraph their indifference to such. Okay, if you're a person who wants to kill your offspring for your own career, I don't think Michigan needs you. Certainly your community doesn't need you. The neighborhood doesn't need you. If you're a murderer in your heart, and that's what Jesus talked about, it's not just the crime of murder, it's the murder in the heart first, because murder springs from the heart. So if you're the kind of person who would, for your own selfish, material, financial, career goals, college education goals, if you're someone who would actually take your own child, the one that's growing within you, and hire someone, pay someone to murder it and kill it and slaughter it, Michigan doesn't want you in their workforce. They don't want you in the neighborhoods, and we don't want you in the state because you are a bad person. So think about that angle. So she's worried about, well, we're not going to attract very talented people who might want to have an abortion. Well, they may be talented, they may be highly skilled, but they're morally bereft. And we don't want these evil people in our state. So maybe abortion would be the laws against abortion and criminalizing it. Actually, that's a good thing because it kind of keeps out the riffraff from our state, or makes the riffraff leave the state. The more Michigan sends a signal that we don't respect women, no, we do respect women. We just also respect the baby too. So it's not just about women. It's also about little babies, innocent children. And we have to think of them. The ability to make women to make their own health care decisions. Again, it's not about health care. It's about murder. So no, we're against that. So we're only a short passage in here, but as you can see, the abortion arguments are really weak and lame. And we don't have time to go into them all, but I do appreciate you listening in, and we'll talk to you next week on another edition. God bless.